This is Mac OS Ken.
Another note from Daniel: Rerun Ives stops and starts for iPhone in India, and notable cancellations on Apple TV Plus. It is Tuesday, the 5th of December, 2023. I'm Ken Ray, and this is news from Mac OS Ken, brought to you by yours truly and supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/MacOSKen. Still doing the remix thing is Wedbush analyst Daniel Ives, so much so that I'm not sure there's value in saying again what he is saying again and again and again. Apple 3.0 ran part of a note he wrote over the weekend wherein he said 2024 will see acceleration of spending around cloud and AI spending. Yes, that's a quote. He and his are looking for increases in spending of between 20% and 25% over the next year. They see AI as the most transformative technology trend since the start of the internet in 1995. Post-September quarter earnings, investors are seeing iPhone units that are growing again with services back to steady double-digit growth. And the iPhone China demise narrative was a great fictional story by the bears, which is far from the reality, as underlying mainland China growth remains strong and a key asset for the core iPhone franchise. It's not even a remix, really. It's saying what he's already said, or spinning the hits, which is something I've already said. Next time he does this note, I'm going to say he said that thing he said again, and we'll move on. Also, Apple remains the top tech pick for Wedbush. Mr. Ives has an outperform rating on Apple shares. His price target on the shares is a street high $240. For the record, I like the guy. I like what he has to say. He just keeps saying the exact same thing. Is it me? Maybe it's me. A jacked-up story from Apple's supply chain. A piece from Reuters, highlighted by Apple 3.0, says iPhone production near Chennai in southern India has been called on account of rain. In fairness, it is a lot of rain. According to the report, at least 2 people died, and the runway of one of the country's busiest airports was submerged after torrential rain as the city braced for a severe cyclone. That prompted a halt in production at Foxconn and Pegatron plants in that region. While India may be accustomed to monsoons, this is not that. According to Apple 3.0's Philip Elmer DeWitt, the monsoons ended in September, and this cyclone is extreme weather, even by the standards of southern India. Elsewhere on the subcontinent, plans for a new Apple supplier further north. The website Fortune India says the Japanese firm TDK is building a big battery facility in the northern part of the country. The piece has Minister of State for Electronics and Information Technology Rajiv Chandrasekhar saying on Twitter that TDK is setting up a 180-acre facility in Manesar, Haryana, to build cells for batteries which will be used in the Made in India iPhones. The piece says the plant should create about 1,000 new jobs. It will, of course, also further diversify the Cupertino company's supply chain out of China, while more tightly binding India and Apple. If you're interested in a crash course on some of the issues around ramping up iPhone production in India, point your browser or podcatcher to PBS NewsHour Weekend. The show did a 6-minute segment on the topic on Sunday, everything from why Apple wants to make the move to support from the Indian government to something of a culture shock for Foxconn managers in India used to working in China. Look for PBS NewsHour in the podcatcher of your choice, or find it online at pbs.org/newshour. With the arrival of tvOS 17 came added support for VPN apps on Apple's digital living room device. Now a big one has landed in the App Store for Apple TV. A piece from 9to5Mac says an app for ExpressVPN has turned up in that store. According to the report, version 1 of ExpressVPN for Apple TV is bare bones but functional. Also, it works with existing ExpressVPN accounts. To make it go, the piece says users can sign into their account just by scanning a QR code, select their preferred server using the UI, and initiate the VPN connection. The company says it will be bringing more features to tvOS over time. News of a couple of surprising cancellations for Apple TV Plus series. Cult of Mac says the Cupertino streamer has pulled the plug on the animated musical comedy Central Park after 3 seasons, and on the youth basketball drama Swagger after 2. News of the cancellations comes not from Apple itself, but from parties involved. According to the Cult, Central Park co-creator Josh Gad was asked on the social media service Threads when Season 4 would debut, and he responded, "Sadly, it's done." Similarly, Swagger co-creator Reggie Rock Bythewood posted about the show's end last week on Twitter, quoting part of that, "In our 2 seasons, we have launched careers, disrupted genre, brought forth humanity through our characters, told stories we care deeply about, revolutionized the way to shoot basketball, and had fun. That's a blessing. Apple," he continued, "while you are not ordering a Season 3, I made the show I wanted to make. Thank you for that. Cast, writers, and crew, you have my gratitude. Walk on the set with swagger, walk off the set with swagger. For our fan base, you lifted us in ways we could have never imagined. To the industry, don't take your foot off the gas. Keep telling our stories." Both shows are likely to have had loyal followings, at least among critics, if not a critical mass audience. The Cult says Central Park carries a score of 97% among critics on Rotten Tomatoes, while Swagger scores 93% with critics. If you were holding off on seeing Killers of the Flower Moon until it started streaming, you might still be holding off for a bit. And a surprising move that really shouldn't be surprising, the Apple Originals epic from Martin Scorsese is stopping to get paid again on the way to Apple TV+. The Cupertino streamer issued a press release Monday saying that the Leonardo DiCaprio, Robert De Niro, Lily Gladstone film will be available starting today, Tuesday, the 5th of December, to rent or buy before streaming globally on Apple TV+. Feels lame. I mean, I get it, but feels lame. And finally today, how much would you pay for a canceled $4 check? I'm sure you know where this is going. Another piece of Apple ephemera is going up for auction. Apple Insider has word of another auction from RR Auctions, a check for $4.01 made out to Radio Shack and signed by Apple co-founder Steve Jobs. Well, Stephen Jobs, according to the signature. Spent about 3.5 months after the company's founding, RR Auction says the 23rd of July 1976 check uses Apple's first official address at 770 Welch Road, Suite 154, Palo Alto, the location of an answering service and mail drop that they used while still operating out of the famous Jobs Family Garage. Of course, it wasn't famous then. It's unknown what the $4 went to purchase, but that will not keep the price of the check down. RR had expected the check to fetch $25,000. With a little over a day left, bids are already up to $22,444. The auction closes tomorrow, Wednesday, the 6th of December. Hey, before we part ways for the day, there are a couple of shows that I keep meaning to tell you about and keep forgetting to tell you about. They are both episodes of another show I do, The Checklist, brought to you by SecureMac. Well, we'd love it if you would share every episode we do. These two in particular are worth sharing. A couple of weeks back, Checklist 353, a letter on passkeys from Allison Sheridan, found me talking with Allison Sheridan about passkeys. You know Allison, Podfeet, the NosillaCast podcast. Yeah, she wrote a letter to friends and family about putting passkeys to work and why they should not be afraid to do so. Definitely worth sharing. Then last week on Checklist 354, Safe Holiday Shopping in the Metaverse and Meat Space, well, you can probably figure out what we talked about. Whether shopping from the cozy comfort of your sweats on the couch or the cozy comfort of your sweats in the mall, insurers, police officers, and security pros like SecureMac have tips to keep you shopping safely. What are Grinch bots? What are juggers? Answers await on last week's checklist. Checklists 353 and 354 both are great to share this holiday season. You can find each at securemac.com/checklist or wherever you get podcasts. macOS Ken, brought to you by me and supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/macOSKen. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media. Online at backbeatmedia.com. You can reach me a couple of ways. Info at macosken.com or call 716-780-4080. Until next time, that is news from macOS Ken. I'm Ken Ray.
Ciao.